Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. So today is a weird episode because it was actually recorded like a week ago, and doing this intro and the outro several days later before the actual download because I'm headed off to Winter Fantasy for the end of the week for a much needed gamer vacation. Things have been very stressful across the board. We won't get into the nitty-gritty reasons for all of that, but just basically know that I need a couple of days to roll some dice, have some fun, and just kind of shed some of the responsibilities that being a grown-up breadwinner, game designer-y, all-around weirdo sometimes comes with it. So let's just jump in real quick for the quick week in Bryan. So I was supposed to play in a long-standing D&D game. You know what? We'll get rid of the easy ones first. Personal, feeling good, very stressed, still going to the gym, all is well. Made an amazing pork roast last night. It was fantastic. Painting-wise, nothing. I got a new model in the mail, and I was like, ooh, and I opened the box, and I looked at all the parts, and got utterly just, not even disheveled, I looked at it, I was like, I don't want to put this together, and I just set it off to the side and walked away. So that's to tell you how much stress and stuff I've been dealing with. I didn't even want to put together a brand new model. I was like, oh, that looks really cool. Later. So yeah, no painting. Personal's doing good. Painting's doing good. Work-wise, work has been work. Lots and lots and lots of it, and trying my damnedest to. I described this to someone recently as I've been juggling chainsaws, except somewhere in my chainsaw juggling, someone replaced one of my chainsaws with a baby. And now I am being very careful to take care of that baby so it doesn't bump into one of the John Deeres. And hopefully this will end at some point. So it's been a little crazy. I mean, obviously, I still love everything. I'm still feeling wonderful about all my projects and all the stuff, and I'm pushing forward on everything. And it's a good time to be Bryan, but it's just a little heavy from time to time. So that's all work related stuff, which we'll talk a little bit more about work related stuff in the actual part of the video you're going to see here in a minute. That's why I'm not spending a whole lot of time on it. Gaming wise, I do want to tell a little story. So I was supposed to play in a long-standing D&D game. That it plays very sporadically because it's a whole bunch of adults from different cities and everything. They have to get together, and it's a lot of scheduling weirdness and all that stuff. But we were all ready to go, and the DM for that game, a very dear friend of mine, got into a pretty nasty car accident. Luckily, no one was really hurt. He got banged up a little bit, just general soreness and things. But it really shook him up. I mean, nobody wants to be through that. And so he sends on our little group chat, internet messaging thing that he has, or that we have for the group. He sent out this very heartfelt, hey, I know everybody was really excited to play, but I got into a car accident. I'm fine. Car's not, so forth and so on. I'm not really feeling like running today. And the amount of outpouring of the players that people are like, oh my god, dude, be good, be careful, you're fine, take the day off, do you need me to bring up anything? It was really nice to see. Yes, we all miss the game, we all miss each other, we all, I absolutely cannot wait to see these people again and to play that character again and so forth and so on. But what's really important, and I say this about everything gaming wise, is that it's so important to build a community and to build relationships and to really not just the game should never be it should never be the obligation. It should never come before friendships and relationships and things, and caring about each other. Yeah, squishy, whatever. But it was nice to see everybody. Nobody be like, oh man, that sucks. Everyone was like, oh my god, are you okay? And that meant a lot to me. So yes, while I did not get any gaming in, I'm about ready to get a whole bunch in on my little vacation. So I'm fine. I'm fine with all that. I'm just very glad that my friend is okay, and that yes, it's some hardship to have to replace vehicles and all of that. But I'm glad that everybody's okay, and it's especially good for those of us who are getting older. Anytime we hear things like this, I always hope that nothing, that it's nothing permanent, nothing hospital worthy. It's just this is where I have to fight a lot of times my catastrophic thinking syndrome, whatever it is that my therapist had told me before. A lot of times where I will hear something like that and then spiral out into the worst case possible situations. It was very nice to read that and then go, and before I have a chance to say or feel anything negative, seeing all these people saying, hey, you're fine, it's great, do you need me? All this warmth and love and positivity about the situation. It meant a lot to me, and it helped keep me out of that negative brain space. So, yeah, long story short, we didn't get to game. Some bad stuff happened to my friend, but I'm very glad that he is okay, and that we as a group still all kind of came together, even just electronically, to take care of him. Yeah. So I know that was really fast and kind of a blur, but part of that is because this is only like half a week when I'm recording this. There's still several days left before the week in Bryan is over. So those days are definitely going to be chock full of awesomeness. I hope. So obviously, the next episode when I give you the week in Bryan, it's going to be a whole lot more stuff, I'm sure. But yeah, let's go ahead and just tell you. Can I give you a little bit of a primer? So here in a month, almost exactly a little bit under a month by the time this comes out, we are the guys over at Accidental Cyclops are launching the Kickstarter for Surviving Strangehollow, a 5e kind of setting book, rule book, narrative. It's definitely a setting, but it's a setting that you could pick up and put into other places, and it should fit just about perfectly. It's gonna have a whole bunch of new rules and stuff. We're gonna actually talk a little bit about that because I grabbed Jason and Mikey, two of the partners over at Accidental Cyclops, and I had a chance to talk to them. I did a little interview with them to discuss Surviving Strangehollow, discuss some of the process, and just kind of give you guys a general idea of what is going to be coming to the table with this new thing that's coming to Kickstarter here in March. Obviously, we're going to be talking more about Surviving Strangehollow in the future, as that I am a part of that project. Part of that project. But I figured this would be a really good way to get people thinking and whatnot, that it's not just words on the page, that there's more to it than that. There's people behind the process, and if I get a chance, I hopefully will maybe get some more of the talent on interviews later on. I know that I've already set up a couple of podcasts and a couple of actual plays for the future, so obviously more on Strangehollow in the time to come. But for now, let's go ahead and bop over to Past Us and take a look at that interview with Jason and Mikey. See you in a sec. Hello, everybody. So I know you just saw my ugly mug a few seconds ago, but I want to introduce you to two of one of my honestly one of my oldest friends in the industry, and a new friend in the industry. Two of the partners, team, council, inner circle, Illuminati, whatever, behind Accidental Cyclops, the minds leading the minds behind surviving Strangehollow. So, without further ado, let's talk to Jason Ward and Michael. Oh, I'm gonna mess up Mikey's name. Hawryluk.
That's not bad. Hawryluk.
Hawryluk. Oh, that's not bad. I should have asked you before we started recording, so I don't butcher your name and look like an idiot.
But now it feels natural. Now we feel like we've broken the ice.
Well, and all of my fans know that I'm an idiot, so well, we're good.
Wait, what?
Bryan just gave away the fact that I'm clearly the one who's has been his old friend for a long time. And
I did spoilers.
One of the name is Ward, and one of the name is not Ward. So
fair enough. So yeah, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell the nerd farm. I don't know. I don't have a name for my fans. I'm not that cool. They all have
cool people.
Names. Yeah,
sure.
So tell them a little about yourselves and the Accidental Cyclops.
You want to go first, Mikey?
No, I want you to. Okay. So Accidental Cyclops. So I'm Mikey Hawryluk. I've been in an indie for 05, and Jason and I met shortly thereafter, who's actually running a LARP, which dates us a bit. He was running a LARP, and a mutual friend of ours was playing in. He said, "Hey, you should come join." And so I started playing there, and then we started hanging out outside of that soon afterwards. And we were kind of talking one night. Just kind of came over his house one night, like, what if we actually made games? What if we just not just talked about, but actually just made games? It's like, huh. And I'll let him take over from there.
You told none of the story, so everything is you told how you met me, so it was like your origin story is really just the prequel to my origin story. Is that where we're at?
Well, you're older than me, so no.
I am older. That's true. Bryan and I go back a long time, back to LARPing in Lafayette, Indiana, back when we were I don't know, barely adults hanging out in the small town of Lafayette. And
we were grown. I don't say we were never adults. We're not adults now.
That's fair.
We're just giant children.
I mean, by default, I have to be an adult because there has to be one in my household legally, and I have children. So
fair enough.
So I'm an adult. So then, like Mikey said, several years later, I was running a LARP down here in Indy and made a lot of good friends in that process. Most of us are still hanging out today. And Mikey and I formed the core of Accidental Cyclops Games. That is essentially, we formed it about 8 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
Well,
we originally got into it for board games. We were working on we got a group of people together to work on a board game, and worked on it for a number of years. And I think it came to one point, it was like, hey, so when I tell my my wife that I'm going to go work on game stuff, what do I call it? We just need a name. and Accidental Cyclops was born, and worked on that game for a little bit, and had some interest from a publisher, and it didn't go really anywhere, unfortunately. And it's been on the shelf for a bit, and Jason worked on it a bit, and we all kind of here and there kind of tweaking it and stuff like that. And we've sort of worked on games kind of off and on for a bit, and it kind of just sat there for a while.
Okay.
Turns out making board games is really hard.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of infrastructure to it, a lot more than anticipated.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and so at some point in time, about 4 years ago, we decided we were semi-permanently shelving the board gaming thing until we could just go ahead and fund it ourselves. And the mechanism for funding that became trying to make role-playing games in the process, which seems like it would be just as much work, but it is not. It is so much easier to self-publish a role-playing game because it's essentially books. And so our first project, which Bryan had us on the podcast 2 years ago,
I thought I had my copy handy, and I apparently don't.
I've got the hat on right now, and here's the book.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's always on my desk because I'm always still writing for it.
Well, here's the fancy limited edition cover.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of years ago, we were on the podcast here talking about the real thing. We decided to go ahead and publish that. We thought it had some legs. It made us enough money that we could go ahead and start investing in some bigger projects, including hopefully after surviving Strangehollow, which is what we're actually here to talk about today. We'll be able to do our first board game sometime after that, which will be awesome. Nice. Yeah.
It goes without saying, if I can help in any way, let me know.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so surviving Strangehollow, which with a recent conversation, for those of you who watched last week's episode, you will have seen that I was corrected that the area in space and time that is Strangehollow is not the Strangehollow. I was corrected many times by the lovely Mrs. Hare. I kept calling it the Strangehollow, like it was just like a colloquialism, and that was not the case. That it is a more of an amorphous collective than a labeled one. So
yeah, it's interesting. She's very particular about some things. Very awesome to work with and super creative and has a lot of fun ideas. But there are a couple of things where there is a right way to do it.
Yeah. And I thought it was fun talking to her about some of the things that I was like, from your perspective, since we're going to be doing all these cool things with the game and expanding on your world, are there things that you specifically want to see done or maybe you want to see avoided? And there were so many things that she was just as excited to see what we come up with. But then there are those little things, like you said, like it's literally just a connection word, and that's the I don't know, that's not it. Nope. So yeah,
one other one. This is fun. One other one. I don't know if you got into this on the conversation because I haven't watched it yet. Her creatures do not wear clothes.
We did. We did come into that. That we had made a joke about this is a game for nudists.
Yep.
That it's. If you don't want your anthropomorphic monsters to wear even a vest, this is it.
Well, and this hits close to home for Bryan and I both because we're both from northwestern Indiana originally, and there's a nudist colony, a well-known one, right up there. Our neighbors, DeMott, Indiana. Yep. Right there. So it all comes full circle, Bryan.
The Midwest has become kind of the gaming capital of the Midwest, of the Midwest at least, I think it's because of the nudist colony in DeMott. We're spreading that, we're evangelizing for that colony right now. Of all of the fans out there, and I know you DeMott fans, we feel you, and this is the game for you.
Yeah, we accept all.
Absolutely, 100%. Now that we've completely derailed the thought process there, so surviving Strangehollow. From your guys' perspective, what brought you to finding it, deciding like this is going to be a game, this is going to be a setting?
Yeah, it was really organic in a lot of ways. I think it was kind of bound to happen. If it wasn't going to be us, it was going to be somebody else, because Emily has a lot of fans that are gamers and have already created their own versions of her world for homebrew. And we hear a lot of that. We've got some folks that are pre-ordering or pre-registering for the campaign, and a lot of the feedback we're getting is, I've been playing in Emily's Strangehollow for a long time, and Emily's the Strangehollow for a long time.
Yes, vindication.
That's right. And so she's got fans that are already gamers, and it was roughly 2 years ago I reached out. I had bought a couple of her art books, which are the Strangehollow books. Actually, I think I have all of her books at this point in time, because my daughter is a budding artist and she does some painting and some watercolor. And I just thought it was really cool. It was something we could bond over and read together. And not that there's much reading at their art books, but look at together. And I reached out just kind of on a lark one day, and I was like, hey, have you thought about making a game out of your world that you've got here? And I was surprised she responded first. Secondly, I was surprised to hear her say, I've thought about it, but I have no idea what to do. And so that started the conversation. And I don't know, we're a year and a half, 2 years into conversing and getting things planned. And actually probably only about a year of really deep design on the game at this point. But yeah, she's been great to work with. She's got a lot of really fun ideas. The books only scratch the surface of like her imagination of what's going on. she's limited by how much she can actually paint, and she doesn't
Yeah.
only paint Strangehollow. She's got other stuff she works on too. So there's a lot more Strangehollow to be discovered, explored, pondered, all of those sorts of things. We're only going to get into the core of it for this first book, but hopefully there's more to come later.
So my access to it came from my conversation with you. We started talking about it, and if I had seen her art before, it was in passing. Like I may have seen something and said, "Oh, that's cool," and then moved on. Like I would not have been able to attach the name to it in any way. But then after you and I talked, and you were talking about you're doing this project, I actually found her sculptures first, and then got into the books. Took a look at the actual like watercolors and things, and so my connection obviously came from you, Michael. When did you find Strangehollow stuff? Like was it through Jason and through his connection, or?
Yeah, so after the real thing had happened, and we are kind of talking about what was next. We started like, oh well, what about this? And I was like, that's. He started showing me like that's pretty cool. Like there's a game here. Like there's a setting here, whether it be D&D or Pathfinder. There's a tabletop role playing setting that kind of just I don't want to say begging for this art, but like it's kind of like great because it's beautiful. It's just different. It kind of scratches a different itch of like, here's a big scary monster. It's like, no, this is a cute monster that also might mess you up. But like it's cute, so I guess that's a thing. But really starting to play with the idea of what's dangerous, what's enchanting or beguiling to kind of like draw you in, and then like, but thinking about Strangehollow in a world that's like this is a primal place that's everything here is survived here long enough because it can survive in this wilderness. So anything that's going to be in here is going to be able to take care of itself, and probably your common adventure if need be, kind of a thing. But it's certainly the art, and that's a lot of what we're hearing too from people that are engaging with us is like just the art drew me, and that's so cool, and we really want to try to make that the centerpiece, kind of from the book, because like everything kind of it's like coming from what I've called like a top down design perspective, where like we have the art and then we have our stories, and I'm like, okay, well, what D&D rules content we craft from these stories, like the stuff that you're creating, that other people are creating. It's like, okay, well, how do we take this kernel of an idea and let's make a mechanic or two around that, or let's make a subclass or two around that. And we played D&D for years together, certainly for what?
At least,
it's been we've been playing D&D or tabletop games, 7C.
Years,
yeah, a long time. And you're gamers, you're thinkers. Like, oh, what if this was different? Because you're always kind of tinkering. It's like now it's a fun opportunity to kind of like put those muscles to use and really just collaborate with some amazing people that I was like, when we started getting this list, just like we're not worthy kind of a thing. Like seriously, like it's kind of amazing. And Sean being on the team is just amazing. It just opened a lot of doors to us. We're just excited and just appreciative of the opportunity that we have in front of us.
Well, I mean, you guys have assembled. I mean, I'm. It's hard for me to say this because I'm on the team, and I don't want to be like you've assembled one hell of a team. But that first writing that first writers meeting that we got together, and I really got to see the other people that were going to be on this project. You've got a hell of a team put together, and I'm humbled to be in that room, and I'm very glad to be part of the project.
We feel the same way. It's Mikey unpacked a whole lot of things in the last conversation, but kind of staying focused on the writing team. I think what's really amazing about this is that everybody that we approached with the idea, most of them through Sean, by the way, Sean Merwin, he's our lead designer. Let's get
and also human.
Sean is now we all know.
It's worth mentioning. Which, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to do a quick Google for Sean Merwin, and you'll see a laundry list of cool shit that he's done. And I just dropped my first PG-13. I'm trying to be good about I don't want my YouTube channel to get all screwy. So I apologize for anybody who cared about that minor thing that I just did.
Man, I'm glad I know that exists now because I'm gonna have to watch what I say.
I'm bad about it. There's been a few instances where I've had to put a little caveat at the beginning of the video and be like, so if you have little ears, be forewarned.
So yeah, we brought Sean in really early, and we were just super lucky to get him on. He saw the art. We had an hour-long conversation. He said, "Yeah, I'm in. Let's make this work." And within a month after him coming aboard and helping to kind of wrangle things as the lead designer, he opened his Rolodex and was just spitting out names. Because our process was, Sean, who do you want to work with? Not, can we work with so-and-so? And he just started throwing names out there, and to a person, they've all said yes.
Awesome.
And it comes back to what Mikey said earlier. It's the people look at the art and they're drawn in immediately. Like every one of the designers said, I love the art. Tell me what you think the story is going to be, at least the high level story. We explain that a little bit and they're like, yeah, I'm in. Let's figure out how to make the numbers right. And so, yeah, everyone has said yes. We've had a couple of people who are like, yes, I would love to. I just don't know if I have the time. Hit me back up in a month. But everyone has been yes or yes, maybe.
Are there still some names in the wings?
Oh, we got one today that we're not going to reveal yet.
Okay.
But there's a big name of somebody coming on for probably the development side specifically of things.
Very cool.
That people are going to be like, oh shit, you got another one?
I'll make sure to put the camera. I'm making the notes. I got to put the thing.
Oh goodness.
Okay. We're good.
We're messed it up again.
I feel like we need a little counter somewhere.
If I was that good at video editing, I'll you know what? I'll see if I can't find that little widget before this goes live.
Perfect. Yeah, so obviously the writers are a big deal. The Mikey's approach to the top down, right? We're starting with, I'm thinking about this from psychology because that's where I come from, right? We're thinking about this from the feel, think, do perspective. We've got the feel, which is the art, and people look at it and they just are like, ooh, there's something there. It's got the fuzzies, right? And then you get the think. You've got these writers. They're going to really put some cool spin on these stories, some really neat characters. We're going to be telling some new sorts of legends and lore, and we can talk a little bit about what Bryan's going to be doing because we know a lot about what he's got going on for the story. And so you've got the think piece of it, which is this narrative fiction that's going to be in there, and then there's the do, which is the development of the game and the rules. And we've got some really cool stuff that's coming along from that we're incepting right now with hazards and environmental dangers and something we're calling the mists, which are going to be a lot of fun. Willful and unwillful transformations of characters, because of the magics that are there and the creatures that are there. Some really cool, fun crafting and potions and poisons, and it's going to be really cool. The do stuff is going to be fun as well, but that's not where we started. We started with the feel.
Mikey, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I'm good. I'll jive in later.
Just couldn't get Jason to shut up long enough.
Oh, that's a meeting with Jason.
Speaking of talking about the general theme of transformation and such, which was funny because that first meeting that we had, we didn't really discuss that very much. It was touched on, but going in and talking to the other writers, I know my iconic character has got a transformation key to him. I think it's funny that we all to go in the fact that Sean and you guys had already set up this kind of the arena that we were going to be playing in, that we get to start filling in the lines. It was already kind of leaning that way, because the number of people that have already, like, reading some of the other briefs and some of the stuff that people are talking about, several of us were like, oh no, this is definitely about someone who came here and has left different, or came here and is becoming different. And that's a really cool, that's a very, very cool theme to lean in on, especially in a almost alien environment. It is unlike anything else. And one of the things that I've mentioned multiple times to other folks is it's got a little bit of that Dark Crystal feel, where like you're looking at something, it's cute, it's cuddly, and then it opens its mouth and it's filled with crazy teeth, and you're like, oh geez, and then the teeth fly away. It is, nothing is ever exactly as it seems, or it is what it seems, but it's not going to stay that way. And I dig that. It's a very cool layering aspect of what we were already handed. It was already there, and you guys did. I think you've done a real good job of making sure that those of us who are doing the writing side of things, kind of urging, hey, let's keep with this cool theme, let's keep with this stuff, because if you look at some of the old role-playing game settings out there, there have been Dark Sun suffering environmental damage, like the slow heat death of the planet, like that. That was there. Ravenloft is about abject horror. Dragonlance is feudal war. Same thing with Greyhawk. There's all these kind of overarching, all kinds of really cool stories can be found in there. But there's still, if someone, you got 30 seconds to tell me what this is about, go. It's kind of cool that Strangehollow has sort of developed this, what comes here leaves different. And that's really cool. I dig that.
Yeah, something you just said a second ago, I hadn't put my finger on it until you said it, and I think by accident, but that makes it even better. We're drawing a lot from sci-fi. You said there's alien stuff going on, and really fantasy is about conquering a lot of the time, right? Yeah. Fantasy RPGs, the genre is about conquering or winning or defeating. Sci-fi is about exploring, uncovering, and surviving, right? A lot of the time when we watch sci-fi films. And I think that's what we've done. We've taken a fantasy setting and thrown the sci-fi tropes on top of it to some extent, which feels really cool.
Michael?
Yeah, I was just, thinking back to sort of some of our initial sort of seed ideas for the world, whether, it's Alice in Wonderland meets, Journey to the Center of the Earth, where it's like everything's weird and a little bit different, until like, and the other one was, was Ghost in the Darkness, where it's like something's going to happen to you and you're going to come out differently. And maybe that's character growth, maybe that's not, but like the idea that you have these experiences as characters. You're a player inhabiting a character, and that character is going to go through things, and they're going to be different, and they're going to be transformed, whether it be physically, emotionally, or otherwise. And like, it's just, those are the kind of the fun stories of like, when this thing happened, it was this thing, like this thing was so cool, and like the story I got to tell with this character, that it's not just about hit points and armor class and leveling up and cool, I got my new spells now. It's like that's fun sometimes, but sometimes you want something a little bit different. And just, we feel like an opportunity here with this world and this art in this book to do something different, but also really fun too. Yeah. I think it'll be real fun for players, and we're not being too prescriptive with like what Strangehollow is. So like people that are playing their own homebrew games can insert that in, whether they're just adding some creatures or some of the rules, or they're actually adding this as a newly discovered continent, or is Strangehollow a plane that's crossing through their plane? Like, we want to give GMs the option of how to use this in their own games, while also giving players some cool new things and systems and mechanics that make them, interest them in the book too. But also just like, this should be like short fiction stories and beautiful art. Like, it's kind of like a little bit of just like a short story compilation plus an art book, and then there's some D&D rules on kind of in the middle of those two things, and it's just really kind of fun to see it come together.
What's kind of interesting, I don't think we even talked about this, or we haven't with anybody yet, was we didn't originally conceive of this game being D&D. We thought we were going to do one of the indie systems, because that's honestly more of what we play. Lately we've been playing a crap ton of D&D, but before that it was a lot of indie games, right? And that's where our experience designing and playing mostly comes from. And then we just saw the size of we saw the size of the audience of people who love Emily's art and the writers that wanted to be involved. And we were like, okay, so this needs to reach a bigger audience. It just needs to, for the benefit of the material. And so we very quickly pivoted to D&D and said, look, we're enjoying D&D. 5e is a very hackable system.
Yeah.
We can do anything we want to in it, just like we can with an indie game. It's not like playing a D&D back in the day where it's just a mess.
There's where the walls are a little easier to move around.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it feels right. Like, I don't know that we didn't originally come into this thinking it was a D&D game, but now it only feels like a D&D setting to me, which is great.
Actually, I was going to ask, there's obviously no pressure, and if this is not something that you're planning, are you thinking about doing or getting somebody to do like a Pathfinder version 2?
We actually talked about it as part of the original plan, and just for scope purposes, to not let the scope get too out of hand, we said we're going to start with 5e. We're going to see how much people love this, and we're going to talk to the players, the people who are interested, and say, what other systems is this good for? I mean, what else do you want to play this in? And then we will probably do we're not committing to anything, by the way, but some sort of pamphlet
Thanks.
style.
Thanks for that caveat.
Yeah, some sort of zine style, like compendium to here's how you translate this to this system.
I was just wondering, because I know there's been a couple of other kickstarted games, crowdfunded games that have been like, our first big stretch goal is we're going to do a Pathfinder version or something like that. So I just didn't know if that was even something that the people who have listened to me talk know that I am not a Pathfinder person. I'm not one of that camp. I love the fact that they are doing as well as they are. It was literally just a curiosity, and whether or not, because this book is mostly setting and some rules that help define it, that whether or not that was something that we collectively as a team were even, if it was like in the back room on the table that no one's looking at. Right.
I think there is probably a 50-page book that translates Strangehollow to Pathfinder, and one that's a 30-page book that translates it to Dungeon World or Shadow Dark or something along those lines.
Right? Tales of the Valiant. I mean, there's lots of systems that are kind of 5e adjacent type D20 systems.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. Like we were talking about, like, well, maybe we'll do it like 5e Pathfinder and Dungeon World. And we're like, okay, like we can, like, I come from the software world and we call that scope creep. So
yeah. That's a lot to take on all at once.
Yeah. And I think that just, if people love this world as much as I love this world and want to see it do well, not just because of all the work we're putting in it, but just also like kind of like to do Emily justice of the talent that she is. I want to see it do really well. And, I'm happy to, do those other things. If we get like, pre-os or backers, like to say, yeah, we want to do this in Pathfinder. Yeah, we want to do this in Tales of the Valiant. Like, well, we'll figure out a way to make it happen, because to help bring Emily's stuff to more people, I think it would be great. And,
Cool. Yeah, I mean, right now we're looking at somewhere between 350 and 400 page book with just 5e, and only 30% of that's rules, but that's still 130 pages of rules. So it's not nothing.
Cool. Speaking of D&D rules,
sure.
But before we hit the record button, we got Jason to open up a slight bit about something that he's been dreaming up. That's Strangehollow related. So let's see if we can get a little bit of that on camera.
Yeah. So Bryan, just because you're on the team and you're a good friend going back a lot of years, we're gonna give you a little peek behind the curtain of something special we're working on. And when I say special, I mean in my mind, and I think even more so in Michael's mind, it fixes a consistent break in Dungeons and Dragons going all the way back to 3rd edition, I think. So, Mikey, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I conceptually love the sorcerer class. Just conceptually, of someone who's just raw magic and just like born with it and learning to control it just seems so cool. And I can't get behind playing one. I just can't. And I don't know if it's just the red mage in me and like the subclasses, I don't find them interesting or compelling or fun. Like the wild magic one is just I
Just bad. You can say it's bad.
I don't like it.
I'm the weirdo that loves that table.
Okay.
But that's because I love that kind of thing. I like playing someone
Yeah.
who's off.
Yeah. You know, and I played was it they were sorcerers in second edition. I think I had a wild magic wizard in second edition at one point.
It
And
was
that
its
was
own school of magic, yeah.
busted. That thing was busted. And you know, but I think, you know, from the idea of a sorcerer being this uncontrolled raw magic, and it's like, and here's the list of spells that they have. It's like it doesn't really fit conceptually.
Even
And
even
also,
worse. Even worse. It was off of charisma.
yeah, like
In that.
it's and I know that's Chris is supposed to be like force of personality. Just it just there's a lot of like, you know, between warlocks and bards, and I think did we really need like having another charisma class just feels kind of weird. So Jason.
Yeah. So for the longest time, and this is all over the internet, everyone for 10 years has said, why isn't the sorcerer a con caster? Because it's focusing the magic through its body. We said, okay, well, we're not going to fix the sorcerer. It's been around too long. It's beyond fixing. Old dog, new tricks, whatever. We're just going to make a new class. Right now, we're tinkering with it, and it's called the Channeler. There is a very well beloved channeler class out there that's based on some anime I'm not familiar with. It's a 5e hack for a channeler class that people really like, but it is a spirit channeler. One of those, it calls the spirits into itself and uses that for abilities and things. We're thinking of channeling as in something that channels magic through its body.
Okay.
And so the name of it may change, what have you. But it is a con caster. It is a not quite full caster. It is based less on casting spells. In fact, it eschews the use of components and ritualized spell casting entirely, and instead says, I just know there's magic here, and it's like Play-Doh, and I'm going to try to form a thing. And it can only do basic things. It can, you know, channel some magic into somebody to heal them potentially, or channel some magic into a force field around themselves, or things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, it is. It's still in the concept phases. We've written about 12 pages of rules. I'm sure about 2 of them are good. We're going to keep tweaking it. We've got people on the team that are way better than we are that are going to help us make this thing shine. But we really think that the D&D milieu is missing the mark with what it calls channeling raw magic with the sorcerer, because it's not doing what it says it does.
I am very interested to see how that pans out.
Me too.
I'm on the opposite side of the coin. I generally enjoy playing sorcerers, more so than when just the player's handbook versions. I mean, yeah, I love wild magic because of the goofy shit. There's 3, but Jason, you bring out the worst in me. But the I tried playing one of the draconic bloodline ones, and it just felt wrong, especially in a book that shows you Dragonborn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, if I want to play a dragon guy, I'll just go be a dragonborn and maybe be a wizard. You know, like some of the other paths, or the other sorcerer's paths that are, they're not paths. What are they? Sorcerer's
Bloodlines.
Bloodlines. Some of the other ones that have come out along the way are pretty cool, but collectively, I do think that it is weird to have the sorcerer be wholly based off of charisma. So I like the idea that this channeler is something that does kind of play off of, you know, every class kind of has every ability kind of has a class that they sort of go to. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of got that, this is my lean. And con hasn't really ever been one, for the sheer fact that it's where everybody gets their hit points from. So it's kind of that sort of, well, I guess I'll throw some con in because I need hit points. So it's kind of nice to have something that keys a little more off specifically that sort of bodily, body function, that sort of bodily health. Yeah, no bathroom wizards here. But yeah, I think that that's going to be pretty cool, and hopefully others will believe that to be the case as well.
Yeah, I kind of buried the lead too, leaning into the con. I think there's going to be some balance issues that I think D&D recognized. They said, "Can we make a con caster?" I don't know. That might be unbalanced. But then they made it so con has no skills attached to it anymore. So con does two things now. It does hit points and a saving throw, but everything does a saving throw. So they've really weakened Constitution as an attribute in my mind.
It's very useful, but it's still kind of a dump stat.
Yeah, it can be a dump stat. You can get away with it not being a 14. You can have a 10 and still be fine.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is one of the other things about it having a high con and that helping to provide some balance is sometimes you might intentionally subject yourself to harm as a channeler in order to absorb magic. And so the con sort of has that extra focus of, you've got those extra hit points because your con is high, but you are sacrificing those a lot.
You should be able to use that as a resource too. That's neat. I like that. And you guys will like that too. Me talking to the audience, not you.
I know.
So, Bryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the Strangehollow project?
We hadn't really talked about it. So all of the writers got together and we had this really cool conversation that Sean led us through this fancy slide deck, and it was awesome. But
one second. Can you go ahead and just name drop some of those writers for us?
I can. So people have heard me talk about, I've worked with Elisa for years. Elisa Teague, Ed Greenwood, Elminster himself, the creator of the Forgotten Realms. James Hake from the Critical Role role-playing game side of things. My brain is blanking. Dale, I can't remember Dale's last name.
Dale Kingsmill.
Thank you.
She's on Eldritch Lorecast with Sean and James. She does a lot of promotion of ideas, but doesn't do a lot of publishing. It's a lot of like, here's a way to fix XYZ, or here's a really neat idea for a thing. Go just have it world, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Aaron
Roberts.
Yeah.
Who's got a lot of work with Paizo, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Which is one of the things that brought me to are we doing a Pathfinder version of this? But yeah, it's a hell of a team. And apparently potentially growing. I'm excited to get this skinny on that down the road.
Yeah. The world will have an announcement in the next 2 weeks about another really cool person joining the team.
Very, very cool. But yeah, it's we got together in this digital space, and we were discussing kind of how this goes, and Sean led us through this very cool presentation talking about what all the Cyclopses, Cyclopes kind of are hoping out of us, and what we are to create. And it was the first time that I was ever in a design room where basically the creator of the game was like, hey, you guys are going to be the ones that help paint, we're going to give you the stage, you're going to paint the set. And it was really cool. So all of us basically picked or got into our head that we're going to start our own version of our own chunk of the story, our own piece of the surviving Strangehollow kind of backdrop, the iconic backdrop, if you will. And we all got to choose, or we all got to kind of come up with our own way of looking at it. So it's going to be a really cool collection of different ways to tell this story. Some of the stories are going to Venn diagram over each other. Some of the stories, I remember in that someone brought up what if our stories kind of butt heads a little bit? And Sean was like, that's actually really cool because you're all telling it from different perspectives. So as long as we don't say, this thing's inflammable and hey, this one caught fire, as long as we don't do something that's completely, against each other. And even then that might work out depending on, if Sean gamifies a creature that, obviously in the autumn and summer times, they're flammable. And in the winter and spring, they're inflammable. I mean, of course.
It's on fire. It's not burning though.
Yeah,
it's just on fire.
It's just on fire. So we all kind of started to come up with our own concepts. And I've been in a lot of the actual plays and things that I've been doing lately. I have been playing a lot of characters that are oddly full of themselves. It's weird. I've lost my humility in role playing, and I decided that I wanted to create a Gaston style, a character who comes from a long line of explorers and survivors, and whether or not that's true is has yet to be determined. And so my iconic character is Trent Rothworth, Captain Trent Rothworth. Just a tiny bit of touch. If he was a cartoon, he'd be the guy from Futurama.
Okay.
The captain with his loyal GIF. The concept of the character is basically he's a riverboat captain that is chasing the concept of this evil doctor, Dr. Kuklakat, who may or may not exist, but I may even leave that up to some of the other writers if that person is true or is just a boogeyman that this guy uses in his adventure journals to describe the horrible things that he has to put himself through. But he's very I don't want to say full of himself, but obviously he survived by guile and the Rothworths are a long line of survivors, and we get bit by snakes all the time and come out just fine. So yeah, my character is he was in the beginning of his adventure journals. He is bitten by my favorite creature, a snackle dragon, and the venom is slowly it is turning him into something. It is his skin is changing colors, but because of his noble upbringing and the diet of six raw eggs every day and one poached Fossum bird breast, it is keeping him from succumbing to the venom, and instead he now ventures forth on his boat, the Whiskeyed Dream. The Whiskeyed Dream, him and his crew go into Strangehollow to chase and thwart all of the evil deeds of Dr. Kuklakat.
It'll be a noble adventure.
It hopes to be. I hope it to be as a noble adventure. And my particular style of stories, I'm writing them as basically because we don't know just how truthful it is. It's his adventure journals. It's his captain's log, basically. Is where he gets done with an adventure and writes down his version of the story.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the notes that I've seen on it so far, and if all goes well, you'll also be introducing one of the subclasses.
We haven't completely ironed it out yet, but I had an idea. Within 48 hours of that first writers meeting, I got hit with a bolt of designer lightning and was like, oh my god, this is something that I've wanted for ages. I've wanted to have a ranger subclass that, similar to Mikey, how your view of you like the sorcerer, but you've never found a sorcerer you've wanted to play. Mm-hmm. I'm in that same thing. I love the concept of a ranger since Lord of the Rings introduced us to Strider. I love the idea of a ranger. I have never found one that does what I want it to in the weird environments that exist in fantasy worlds. Mm-hmm. That isn't either kind of milquetoast. It's like, oh, all right, you kind of do all the stuff a fighter does. Oh, and you get a spell now and again. Or does too much. Like the Drake Warden in Fizban's Treachery of Dragons. I think it's a great concept, but it is way too good. It does way too much stuff for just being a ranger. And I'm hoping that I'm not even going to name drop it because we haven't. Sean hasn't given me the green light to even say so. Yep. So I'm not gonna go any further. But my hope is to create a ranger who's especially keyed into the kind of cool, weird, semi-magical stuff that happens within Strangehollow.
Yep, it's gonna be cool.
And I am very excited. Now, do we want? I don't want to like say anything. Do we know some of the other cool stuff that people are doing, or?
Well, we can't say everything on one podcast.
Of course not. And I was gonna say, do we know? You know what? This is. I'm looking down at the time. We probably should come to a head sometime soonish.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Kickstarter itself, because I have a lot of people that have followed us from the Warzone Kickstarter and from the Kong Skull Island and Pacific Rim Kickstarters. So let's talk about the actual Strangehollow Kickstarter.
Yeah, for sure. So we are live, not with the Kickstarter. We are out there for you to find and pre-register if you'd like to. Show notes will probably have a link in it or something. I don't know how all that magic works behind the scenes. I'm just a pretty face.
It'll be in the description of the video. It actually has been for the last 2 episodes. I've had the link attached to it. But I'll make sure for those of you who are like, but how do I find it? Go to the description of the video after you've hit subscribe, obviously, and then click on that and go become one of the Strangehollow VIPs.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to do that, just mark in your calendar that it's launching on March 5th.
Or just sign up for the mailing list, and then we'll let you know. Like, you don't have to put $1 on if you don't want to. Just be part of the mailing list, and you'll find out some other information. Let you know. It's going to be, the VIPs. We have a VIP room, and that's super cool. Like the super cool people that give us $1. But just sharing some stuff behind the scenes, some of the art that Emily's working on. Before it's kind of ready for, some of the stuff she's working on as we're going along, and sharing some other stuff she's doing and we're working on. And it's just kind of fun for us because we get to engage and share with something that we've been excited and working on for a bit now, and, kind of getting ready to share with the world, and, getting ready to hit that launch button. And
yeah, and I'm not going to say that the VIPs won't sway some of our decisions for the campaign either. Like, there's some things that will be determined by that core group of early supporters and the people who support early in the campaign. Maybe help decide what art prints we're going to put out there, or name some things or something like that. We're going to make it as interactive as we can. So get on board, really help us figure some stuff out, because it's everyone's world. Once it gets out there and gets published, it gets to be everybody's, and we'd love everybody to have some skin in the game.
Now, you said March 5th?
Yep, March 5th.
Correct.
March 5th. So that means you've already gotten the now, is it actual Kickstarter, or is it Backer Kit or one of the other weird ones?
No, it's Kickstarter.
It is Kickstarter. Have you already gotten the green light push button ready to go? Like they've done that part?
We have everything in the system. You mean
Okay.
the review?
Yeah.
They have not done the review yet, but we're ready to push the button on it whenever.
Okay.
I think you just need to do the review like 2 weeks before we go live. That was my understanding. So.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, because the way you're like, we've got a firm date, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if they've got the green button sitting there staring at them in the eye.
They're not going to say no to us.
sure,
They know better.
They know better.
You know better, Kickstarter. But
no, we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, no, I'm psyched. I'm excited for a number of different reasons, some of which we're going to save for other media aspects. Yeah. Obviously,
or if nobody else wants us on, we'll come back to you and tell you more.
we'll have another jaunt. But no, I think I haven't really pontificated too much on the channel yet about it, because it's still very formative, and I kind of wanted to make sure that things were a little more set in clay before discussing things. So yeah, expect more coverage, and obviously when the Kickstarter goes live, you're gonna have a hard time keeping me to shut up about it. So yeah, but yeah, I'm very, very excited, and for now, make sure that you follow. I know Mikey said that you don't have to give that $1, but I think you do. I think you should. I think it's worth it.
Get something for it.
It's not like you're like people they're just going give us money and all of your information. They actually want you to become part of the process even before the process.
Mm-hmm. And which and Jason had mentioned an art print, like anybody that gives does that reservation and will get a free art print when they back. And the other thing that for the people that are reserving is they're going to get early access to playtest material. So as we're working on some of these classes and stuff like that, as that stuff gets developed, whether they get like a version of that that they can kind of play around with and just give us ideas about, and or like we've even been talking about the idea of like having some of our VIPs like running a game for some of our VIPs, like doing a BTT game with some of our VIPs and just in Strangehollow and trying out some of this world stuff and
see what really cool.
Right. And that's kind of the engagement and the excitement that we have for this thing and wanting to share it with people. And, just, it's fun. We ran some games at Gen Con this year and that was super fun.
Just to kind of like Strangehollow?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! See, I didn't know about that. I would have tried to. What am I talking about? It's Gen Con. There's no way I had time for that. It's like, anybody who has watched me on the week after Gen Con on my episode, it looks like a hangover. So yeah, no.
I'm not way after day 2 of Gen Con, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's cool. That's really rad that you guys were getting a chance. Now, did you run for like just average folks, or
yeah, it was people registered and played. We did 2-hour
so
session.
cool.
I think we had 15 people total, give or take.
Yeah, like 3 games. We're just kind of like, we had some classes we were testing, but mostly it was just like, were people engaged and interested in the world, and we had some of Emily's art out, and like there's some people like we're just looking at the books the whole time, couldn't put them down. It's just so cool and engaging and different than what they're used to seeing. That kind of helped us like, yeah, this is going to be great. Like, it's one of those things where you want to build something and put it out into the world, and you're like, I hope people like it. And it's just like that validation of like seeing people engage with the art and the world. Is just like, man, this is gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I am thoroughly excited for to be on both sides of the screen. Speaking of screen, are we thinking about doing a DM screen?
There is a DM screen.
Okay.
It is. We have a pilot design out there in the world, but it is not done yet.
Okay. Cool.
Again, we want to get player input on some of this stuff. So yeah, but I think in closing, like you said something earlier that I wanted to chime in on that I thought was really powerful, and that is that we set the stage and you guys get to paint the setting. The set for the stage, and sort of our philosophy of we've been narrowing down on a philosophy of RPG design for us, and particularly for this project. And publishers make games, but we think writers and artists make games great. And so we want to make sure that the creatives behind this stuff are going to be front and center, going to have the control that maybe you wouldn't have at a normal publishing place. We are technically the publishers, but the writers, the artists, they know what they're doing. You have the vision, and we're part of that, but just a part. And we want to make sure that the creatives are getting the attention, the space, and the freedom that they need, and are getting compensated in a way that's fair. And I know we're not going to get into the topic of creative compensation on this podcast. Maybe later, not on this show.
Not on this one. We'll save that for later.
But it's an important piece of our philosophy, which is that writers make games great, and so we want to make sure that everyone's getting what they need to do that well.
Well, so far from the creative side of my side of things, you guys are doing great. You've given us everything. You've armed us very well, and it is super interesting to see. I can't wait to start seeing some of the other. I can't speak for the other writers, but I can't wait to start seeing some of the stuff that they're bringing in. I know my stuff's going to be awesome, so I don't have to worry about mine. But no, I'm super excited to see what Elisa comes up with, and reading Ed's brief made me chuckle. I want to see what some of that stuff comes down the pipe and how it all stitches together. Yeah. So I'm really, really excited, and for you viewers out there, if you're even remotely, even if you're not a D&D fan, like even if you're on that side of the thing, you're like D&D, it's still gonna be so full of cool narrative and backing, and someone mentioned Tales of the Valiant earlier. I don't think it will be hard for people to take these cool concepts and ideas and find ways to make it work for any of their settings. If you're playing Cyberpunk, it might be harder, but I say harder,
not
impossible. Nothing's impossible.
You can get a Decker into Strangehollow.
I would say it could be the
jacking into a tree
of all time.
Yep.
But I think that what you guys have put together so far for us as creatives is, I only hope that we can give half of that back to you, and if we give half of that back to you, it'll be awesome, because you guys have knocked it out of the park so far. So
I appreciate that. It's not about us. It's about you guys. Thank you for all the hard work you're putting in. And this is going to be a badass game.
And it's not even about any of us here. It's about you, the gamers, the fans. As long as you guys are having a good time, then we did our job. So without further ado, I will I'll let you guys tell the viewers how to find you, where to find you. And then obviously I'll put links up into the description. And then After that, you guys will see me again when I say goodbye in the outro of the video. So you'll see me probably in a different shirt and hat here in just a few minutes. But until then, where will they be able to find you guys if they have questions or want to ask more Strangehollow-y goodness?
Sure thing. So you can go to get.accidentalcyclops.com. That is going to be the reservation page for the campaign. If you go to accidentalcyclops.com, that is our regular website. You'll find some stuff there, including the stuff from our previous game, The Real Thing. That's not why we're here, but I thought I'd say it since I got the head on. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to call it Twitter forever. It is @FunWithOneEye, all spelled out. Accidental Cyclops doesn't fit by one letter, so it's @FunWithOneEye.
Just so close.
Yeah, so close. Yeah, we're not real great at social media, but we're on there every day. We'll at least say hi if you pop in and say hi to us. So come find us.
Well, and honestly, what that means is that if they're not great at social media, it means that they probably they're not so full of other people's feeds that if you want to talk to them directly, they'll see it.
We will.
I've noticed that. The people who aren't fully immersed in social media, they're actually easier to get a hold of.
It's true. Thanks, Brian.
Again, you'll see me here in a second. Thank you so much, Jason and Mikey. I'm over the moon about this project, and I think that everybody else will be too. So we'll see you guys again soon. Obviously, I'll talk to you here in a second, but for viewers, you'll see me again in a second, and we'll see them after this thing blows the barn doors off of Kickstarter here in a month. So we'll catch you in a few. That was awesome. Obviously, I'm recording this after the fact, so you guys this was new to you. It's been a couple days for me, but that was always great. I am really glad to be a part of that project, and am very, very excited that to see what all comes out of that. I'm sure you got that from the interview itself. So without further ado, I will not keep you any further. I know that interview went a little longer than normal, so it's when old friends get together and start chit-chatting. You know how it is. We're starting to get into we're getting close to the spring thaw. I know there's a whole bunch of weird weather out there, so please be safe. Wash your hands, wear a mask in a place you have to, don't lick doorknobs, get your shots, don't pick up stray squirrels. I don't know where I'm going with any of that. Just basically be safe. I want you guys to all, take care of yourselves. Try and get into every room that you go into. Try and leave it a little happier than when you got there. And, you know how it is? Play some games, because I know I'm going to at Winter Fantasy. Well, while you're reading this, or while you're watching this probably, I'm playing games, and you should be too. We will see you in a week, and I'll get to tell you about all the cool stuff that happened at the show. So, see you in a week.